we're going to go ahead and kick things off today with the 49ers instead of the Raiders. So we're going to go ahead and discuss the 49ers versus Commanders. Just kind of real quick. I didn't really take notes during the game like I had been doing for like the previous couple weeks, because let me tell you, when I was watching this game, I was a nervous wreck because of the fantasy football playoffs. I wasn't really I wasn't really watching this game from the lens of like a 49er fan as much as I'm like, all right, I need Brandon Ayuk to have a fantastic game, and I need Christian McCaffrey to not kill me. If you guys watched the recap, the preview last week, you would know that I was like, all right, McCaffrey, please, you don't need to go off this week. And Christian McCaffrey, you are a champ. I know you didn't injure your calf this week. I know that it was just like I saw the silver and gold video this week, and maybe I'm cramping up a little bit, and I'm just gonna check myself out of the game. Christian McCaffrey, thank you. It was your effort, or really your not your lack of presence on the field, that propelled me to win my 4th championship. And I'm going to get that trophy that's right behind Mike, and I'm going to have it in the back of my background on the videos coming up when I have the opportunity to. But to get back to the game, McCaffrey got hurt relatively early in the game. He didn't end up getting a touchdown. Not that I can remember. I think Elijah Mitchell did end up getting a touchdown in his place, and Elijah Mitchell really had a really solid game in replacement of McCaffrey, which kind of, like, I know we had talked in weeks prior about maybe NFL MVP, but more specifically, I think Mike, you and I talked about who would be the MVP of the 49ers team a little bit, and I'm kind of swaying back in the direction of Brock Purdy, because I don't have as much faith in Sam Darnold as I would Elijah Mitchell stepping in to back up McCaffrey. You know what I mean? I have more faith in Elijah Mitchell to step in for McCaffrey than I do for Darnold to step in for Purdy. So if you really think about it from that sense, I think Purdy is kind of more valuable. And in the upcoming week, which we'll talk about in the next, or in 2 topics, we're going to talk about Brock Purdy isn't going to play, so I think Shanahan kind of understands that he can't afford to lose Purdy. But Purdy played he played pretty well in this game. I thought that there were a couple passes where it's like, man, it didn't look pretty, but other than that, he played a pretty solid game. He was efficient, and he was just playing like Brock. And then there was this one play towards the end of the game where Brandon Ayuk was running to the right. Purdy escaped the pressure and ran outside the pocket, and he directed Ayuk to go back towards the left of the end zone, found Ayuk wide open for the touchdown, and I was ecstatic. So, really, the game was a lot closer than it really needed to be, but not every single game that you play is going to be a blowout. Although this year it really feels like the Niners have been just blowing their opponents out of the water, or getting kind of gut checked, right? So the 49ers did end up like pulling away eventually, but I think that they played their best football in the second half of the game rather than the first half. And I don't know if the travel, going from West Coast to the East Coast had anything to do with it, if there was any jet lag or anything, but really the Niners bounced back after getting embarrassed on Monday Night Football on Christmas with the Ravens. So there's not really much else to talk about in this game that I can remember off the top of my head. But do you have anything that really stood out to you, Mike?
No, I honestly didn't get to see this game, so I would say
a little too much, huh?
Huh?
You were enjoying Disneyland a little too much, huh?
Yeah, the I had a nice little vacation, so
Mhm.
um, I mean, I noticed Ayuk had a pretty solid game. Um, I would say maybe early on it seemed like Debo was getting the ball a little bit more. And obviously, like you mentioned, Elijah Mitchell came in, and you said that you would be more worried about McCaffrey, or sorry, about Purdy being out than McCaffrey in a game, and that kind of leads you towards, as far as the Niners MVP, not the league MVP,
Mhm.
Purdy being more valuable to the team. And I would say, I agree in the sense that the quarterback is most likely going to be the most valuable player on any given team.
Mhm.
Um, but also, I think in that regard, it's probably more of a damning statement towards uh, Sam Darnold to me than it is, you know, towards McCaffrey, if that makes sense. I think
Mhm.
I was thinking about this today because I was thinking about Aiden O'Connell. Like, having a good, if not maybe great, backup quarterback is one of the most important. Like, backup quarterback is actually one of the more important positions on a team. So I think the statement of MVP for the team, like, I still fall in line with, I think Trent Williams is the MVP for this team. I think when he was out, you guys lost. The one
Mhm.
difference was the Ravens game. And right now, the Ravens look like genuinely the best team in football. Um, and I think that when you put in a backup left tackle and he's not Trent Williams, it's tough. You can get a run game to go just like the Raiders have the past couple weeks without Josh Jacobs. But at the end of the day, that quarterback position is huge, and if you don't have a good backup that can win you games, you know, yeah, that's going to be the killer over anything
Mhm.
else.
So my question to you, and this is kind of unrelated to the 49ers versus Commanders, but you bring up the Ravens as looking like, the top team in the league. I'm just wondering, who is your league MVP right now? If the season ended today, who would be your regular season NFL MVP?
I think in the past couple weeks, uh, mostly due to injury, but also I think I think Tyreek Hill was, if it wasn't Purdy, it was Tyreek Hill for me a couple weeks ago. But then he got hurt, and even when he did play, it was like he wasn't keeping up that 2,000-yard trajectory. And I was like, maybe he'll get Offensive Player of the Year, although I think it should be McCaffrey at this point, and I don't think Tyreek Hill is that guy. I don't think it's McCaffrey, and I don't think it's Purdy. I think it's easily Lamar Jackson.
You
Yeah.
see, I was kind of on the boat of like, having Lamar as an MVP, but I was listening to Richard Sherman on, I guess he's on Undisputed now, right? With Skip Bayless and Keyshawn Johnson, and I guess they alternate hosts every so often. But Lamar Jackson doesn't lead any statistical category, and he's kind of actually middle of the pack in terms of numbers. And while
Mhm.
you know, he is a huge reason why the Ravens are where they are today. He only accounts for like about 55% of their touchdowns.
Mhm.
Whereas a guy like Josh Allen is accounting for around or slightly above 80% of their touchdowns.
Right.
So I feel like if I feel like my pick would probably be Josh Allen if they win on Sunday and they, end out as the 2 seed. I'm not opposed to Lamar Jackson being the MVP because if you think of, I mean, I would say the argument for him is more contextual than it is statistical. But I don't think that the MVP award, it's not, it's not solely a contextual award. It's like um, they do kind of try to pick like, all right, this person is on, one of the most winningest teams, and they're also like top of the line in terms of statistics. At least that's how it feels. So,
Yeah, I think usually the MVP is like just which quarterback threw the closest to 50 touchdowns, you know.
mhm.
And then maybe recently now with this new era, it seems at quarterback, it's like, who did a good mix of passing and rushing touchdowns? And, 2 or 3 years ago when Lamar won the MVP, that was what he did, was just destroy the NFL, statistically. Whereas this year, I feel like he's just doing everything right now. Like even though it's not showing up in the stat column as far as like leading the league, it's like he's not doing anything to lose games right now. He's doing everything he can to extend plays. He's making those tight window throws. He's making the Lamar Jackson plays that we've seen in the past. But at the end of the day, what he's doing, no matter what injuries his team goes through, he's winning. And I think they also have a great defense. They have a great coach. But I also think just by the way that things have gone in recent weeks, I can't really be convinced that anybody else has been as consistent as him. I know statistically it's not quite there, but like when you actually watch, it's like, yeah, he's just been doing this all season.
I think that he has absolutely been leading the Ravens to, a great season. But, like we've seen, and, I cringe a little bit that I'm going to say this, but there's been guys who have had, great seasons that have led their team to like a top seed. And I've seen it firsthand with the 49ers. And this is the part that I'm going to cringe, because Jimmy Garoppolo and Lamar Jackson should never be compared in the same sentence, because Lamar Jackson is way better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But the 49ers got the 1 seed in 2019, and they ran the ball a lot, and they were definitely like a run first team in 2019. Garoppolo played well in 2019. I think better than people give him credit for, because of how much he regressed since 2017. But I think 2019 was probably his, probably the best football that he played, in San Francisco. But he made key plays down the stretch in games. Like, you could point to the Saints game where he won a shootout against Drew Brees in New Orleans to kind of keep the 49ers on top of the NFC. He had a couple key like plays late in the game against the Cardinals on I want to say it was Halloween, where it was like, a 3rd and long, and he completes the ball down the field, and then like 3rd and 17, or third and very long against the Rams, in a game that they needed to win in order to maintain like the top seed. So just kind of seeing, you can have a player that's playing well and they absolutely deserve credit for that. But if they're not like tearing it up, I kind of hesitate to give them my vote for MVP. But absolutely, without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens wouldn't be where they're at. So I don't know, just kind of something to think about. This year, I think more than any other year, there hasn't been like somebody who just jumps out that's the MVP. And I think that's the reason why we're like, is it Lamar? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Brock Purdy? Is it McCaffrey? Is it Tyreek Hill? Just
yeah. And Dak. I feel like I was looking at some of the stats, like the NFL leading stats for certain, I guess, stats. And I was sitting there, I was just like, this is a weird season. Like, honestly, it is a weird season. There's not that quarterback that just is going, scorched earth, nuclear, we have that one running back in McCaffrey. We have that wide receiver in Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. But like also there's so many different players that are like, okay, where did you come from? But I think most of all, there's not that one quarterback that's, expected and going crazy. There's also all the quarterback injuries that we've had this year, starting quarterbacks to go out. And then guys like I mean, between Brock Purdy and Jordan Love, like those are two of the top three passers as far as passing touchdowns this season. It's like, where did you come from? I mean, obviously we
Mhm.
we were on Purdy, but it's like still, it's weird, you know?
I think
But
everyone was just waiting for Mahomes to do it. Mahomes like didn't do it this year.
yeah. And then I guess my last thing on Lamar is just like when you and this shouldn't be an aspect to MVP, but I think because of the way that this season is going, it has an effect on me. And by the way, I mean, towards the how this season is going, I mean, there's no quarterback that's just showing out, point blank period. When you compare Lamar Jackson's supporting cast to Brock Purdy's, and again, this probably isn't fair because I've said it. Brock Purdy's made all the throws and it's impressive. But I like some people might say like, "Oh, Zay Jones and Odell, that's really good." Like to me,
Zay
no, not
Flowers.
really. Sorry, yes, Zay Flowers. Yeah. Like, "Oh, that's a really good wide receiver core." It's like, "Well, but it's not Debo and Ayuk." You know?
Hmm.
It's
Well,
solid, but it's not that.
compare that to what they have in Buffalo. Like, I feel like Lamar's weapons and his team around him is way better than what they have in Buffalo. I Aside from the way that the Buffalo defense played this past week,
I
no, dude,
disagree.
I'm taking the Ravens weapons over Buffalo's. You have
You
Stephon
okay,
Diggs,
okay, yeah, you have Stephon Diggs and a deep threat in Greg, I'm forgetting his last name.
Gabe Davis.
I'm forgetting his first name too. Dalton Kincaid, solid tight end, but also James Cook. I don't know. I would
Is
say
Dalton
okay.
Kincaid better than Mark Andrews?
Okay, well, Mark Andrews got injured, so I'm kind of thinking of Isaiah Likely right now, but
Hmm.
if you're assuming they're all healthy, then yes. I'm taking I'm taking the Ravens. And also I did consider the Ravens I would say are deeper than the Bills for sure. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and their defense, like it's night and day. Buffalo doesn't
yeah.
have a defense right now. Like they
Yeah.
played well against the Patriots, but that's the Patriots, and they're
Right.
crashing and burning. And Bill Belichick is like, holding on for dear life for his job, which I don't think he's going to be able to retain that position. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe he
Mhm.
has a lifetime guarantee because of all the Super Bowls that he won there. But um, yeah, I like if you asked me who I would rather have on my team between Josh Allen and Lamar, I think Josh Allen's better. And I think that he has more touchdowns to account for it this season.
I think it's definitely worth debating.
Hmm.
I coming
Yeah.
into the season, I would have agreed with you, but I think right now it's a major debate for me.
Hmm. Yeah. That'll be something that maybe we'll talk about when they announce the NFL MVP. That would be like a cool thing to revisit. Um,
Yeah, or
I know we
sometime
didn't
in the
even
off
have it
season.
as a scheduled topic, but I just had
Yeah.
to ask you. This has been
No,
great.
no.
This has been great. Let's move on to something that's more substantial and that's been named already with the 49er Pro Bowlers. The Niners have 9 Pro Bowlers and a couple alternates. I'm going to go ahead and share this screen with you guys. This is from 49ers Web Zone. Let's see here. And I'm just going to go ahead and read off the 49er Pro Bowlers. This is written by David Bonilla. Um, so let's see. They've got Nick Bosa, defensive end, Javon Hargrave, defensive tackle, Kyle Juszczyk, fullback, George Kittle, tight end, Christian McCaffrey, running back, Brock Purdy, quarterback, Fred Warner, linebacker, Trent Williams, tackle, Charvarius Ward, cornerback. Um, so those are the 9 starters that are that made the Pro Bowl. Um, and I think Brock Purdy was the main Pro Bowl getter. I think he received the most Pro Bowl votes out of any person who was eligible for being voted for in the NFL.
Can you
Or at
scroll
least
down a little bit more?
at least the NFC. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the alternates, and then I'm going to go.
Holy shit.
Yeah, the Niners have 12 alternates. So there are, I think, only 4 starters on the 49ers that didn't get voted to the Pro Bowl, but I'm going to go ahead and name off the alternates that were selected. So Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver, Eric Armstead, defensive tackle, Aaron Banks, left guard, Jake Brendel, center, linebacker Oren Burks, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, cornerback Diamador Lenore, tackle Colton McKivitz, long snapper Tabor Pepper, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, punter Mitch Wisnowski, and defensive end Chase Young. Yeah, that's a lot of players. That's nearly the entire 49er starting lineup. It is actually insane. I think Brandon Ayuk, he definitely, I think, deserves to be a Pro Bowl starter. But the thing is the players that were ahead of him, you could argue were just as worthy of receiving that. Like I think Puka Nacua was one of the Pro Bowl wide receivers. Let me look it up. NFC Pro Bowl list. Let's see, Pro Bowl rosters, NFC. Okay, so
I know Puka made it over Ayuk and Amon-Ra.
Yeah, Amon-Ra, I feel like, all right, you could argue Ayuk, I think, is a better player than Puka Nacua. But I think that Nacua had more volume and probably meant more to his team. And obviously the Pro Bowl is more like a voting popularity contest. I like Puka Nacua. So like I'm not even like super mad about that. He had a big impact on my fantasy championship this year too. So it's like I'm not going to be upset about it. But I do love Brandon Ayuk, and I think he absolutely should have been one of the names. So this is AFC. I'm looking for NFC. Share this tab instead. All right, we've got the wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, Lamb has been having a season. AJ Brown, Mike Evans, and Puka Nacua. Yeah, I don't know. I think Mike Evans also has been having a great year this year, at least fantasy wise. So, he's been kind of one of the motors on that Tampa Bay offense, and it looks like the Buccaneers, are they going to make the playoffs, or are they just like on the fringe?
They are
the
very
Saints beat them?
likely. They are very likely to beat the Panthers this week and win that division.
Mm-hmm. Okay, AJ Brown on the Eagles. You could also argue that Ayuk probably could have gotten in over AJ Brown, because I'm not saying Brandon Ayuk is a better player overall than AJ Brown, but I think that I was going to compare utilization, because it seems like the Eagles have been struggling lately and they haven't relied on AJ Brown like they've been doing. I really don't know what's going on with the Eagles. They are just kind of crashing and burning as well. But I do know that the Niners' utilization of Brandon Ayuk is definitely below what it should be, or what it would be if Ayuk was on any other team. So I don't know. You kind of take it with a grain of salt. And, unfortunately, Ayuk had to be a Pro Bowl alternate when he's had such a great season. And then Deebo also was a Pro Bowl alternate. So it's not like it's the only wide receiver. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown absolutely should have been over AJ Brown, or over any of these bottom 3 people. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown absolutely got snubbed. But going back to the 49ers, Mike, do you want to know when the last time that the 49ers had a Pro Bowl quarterback was?
I'm going to guess it's either Steve Young or Colin Kaepernick. No, Alex Smith, maybe.
The last time the 49ers had a Pro Bowl quarterback was 2002 in Jeff Garcia. Brock Purdy is the first Pro Bowl quarterback that I've actually witnessed. Obviously I was born before 2002, but I was like 3 years old then. Yeah, like 2 years old, at that time. Purdy's had a great season and absolutely deserves to be a Pro Bowler. And I still think he should definitely be in the conversation for MVP, although that Ravens game absolutely does hurt his chances of winning it. Purdy's still up there in the statistical categories of quarterbacks. So it's like, I don't think that he should absolutely be discounted, but I don't think that it should all be statistics. It should really be like a culmination of context, stats, and like, if you're going to be the MVP, you need to be like, have a signature statistic that sets you apart from other players. Excuse me. But yeah, I've been waiting for so long, Mike. I've really been waiting like forever for the Niners to have a Pro Bowl quarterback, and Brock Purdy finally delivered. Can you believe that Mr. Irrelevant last year is now a Pro Bowl, the leading Pro Bowl vote getter in 2023?
I mean, based off of what I saw from him last season, yeah, I mean, it's funny because I was going in, well, I was going into this podcast and just thinking about things, and I was like, man, like, we really started this podcast and this season off with, oh, is it going to be Trey Lance or Brock Purdy? And it felt like it was obvious it was Purdy, but also like, oh, is Trey Lance going to get a shot? And it's like, we saw how Purdy was last year. Like, am I shocked that he's the most getting vote getter for the Pro Bowl? Like, when I take a second and think about it, yeah. When you think about it as far as where he's come from, yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, he's played like it, so.
Mm-hmm. So, there was still questions about Purdy just because of the sample size. Like, I think last year, Skylar Thompson, who was just drafted one spot ahead of Purdy, was also playing well for the Dolphins at the time because Tua was dealing with his concussions. But like, the scouting report caught up to him, and then he wasn't playing well. Like he was playing up to like his draft status. Brock Purdy is just like, this is the perfect. He is in the perfect spot. He's got the perfect offense that suits him. He distributes the football. He's very accurate. I mean, I was going to say on the short to intermediate throws, but really for most of the season, he's been money down the field too. When he takes shots downfield, he's not missing them like quarterbacks for the 49ers in the past would have. So honestly, Purdy deserves a lot of credit. And, I'm very proud that, he's the quarterback for the 49ers and that he finally delivered a Pro Bowl season that I've been waiting for my whole life. Or at least, the past since like 2010, since I've been watching sports. So, something I've been waiting for. Do you have anything that you want to add on for like any of the Niner Pro Bowlers?
No. Nothing really other than the alternates. I think the alternates are insane to me. I mean, do you think McKivitz is it? Okay, so I guess this is my thing with the Pro Bowl. I don't understand for the life of me why it's voted on by the fans.
I don't get it either. I don't get it for the NBA either.
It's
and then
it's
the MLB
quite
All-Star
honestly
game
ridiculous to me. I just think and I'm not trying to bash it on the Niners or nothing. Like it's every time that a team is clearly like one of the top teams, all of their players get in. Not like this though. This I've never seen alternates like this. Like usually it's like, and 4 alternates, 9 starters, 4 alternates. It's like this is insane to me. The only thing that makes sense is that the Vans just went crazy on this. And I remember telling you a couple weeks ago, like they announced that like the first wave of voting was like all the Miami starters were getting the top votes, and I was like, man, Miami's fans are going crazy. But I mean, I don't know. I think they shouldn't allow the fans to have any say. It should be, You know how NFL Network has the top 100 players, and they have the players vote for the players. That's what the Pro Bowl should be.
You know what the Pro
And the
Bowl should be?
fans should vote on top 100 because that doesn't matter. That doesn't go on Max Crosby or Eric Armstead's, career, awards. Nobody cares if they're a top 100 player. Maybe the fans do, but the Pro Bowl, that shit matters, and you're leaving it to the fans. It's stupid.
I agree with you. I really can't disagree. I think that the same people who vote for All Pro should, like, why do they separate All Pro and Pro Bowl? Like, to me, that's stupid. Like, why?
I mean, okay, that might be the only reason why it's okay. Like, why it's like,
because
okay,
they have another award.
Yeah, because they have an award in the All Pro that's actually, voted on by the Associated Press or whoever the hell votes on that. But still, and that, the Pro Bowl essentially is like, all right, it's a bonus award for anybody who got close, but at the same time, it's like it's just a popularity contest, and that's just, it's like, okay, like there were players in the past couple of years who got voted in, even though they played like half a season, like Mika Fitzpatrick this year. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, or like to use an example from another sport. Several years ago, after Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles, he was like the leading vote getter, and he didn't play a single game in the NBA, that season. It's like, all respect and love for Kobe Bryant, but, you definitely, it's like, you want to leave it to people who earned the award that season. And really, it's no fault of Kobe Bryant's that he was voted. It's not his fault that he was so beloved, right? It's just like, I think that professional sports organizations, if they're going to have all-star teams and Pro Bowl teams, they should absolutely have the executives vote on it, or the same people who vote on all NBA first team, or what is it called for the NFL? It's is it all NFL? Or I just said it a couple minutes ago. It was
All Pro.
All Pro. All Pro. So I don't know why there's two different things other than they want to get the fans involved somehow. But I think that I think you're right. You like have them vote. I don't even want them voting for the top 100 players. There should be like a community top 100, and then there should be an NFL executive top 100 or NFL player top 100 where they have, like what they do now, where the players vote on who they think is the best. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to the 49ers versus Rams preview. I just have to say, this is the most important game of the season because, I mean, really, guys are going to have to step up because Brock Purdy's not going to suit up in this one. Brock Purdy's not playing this week, so Sam Darnold's going to have to man the ship. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be the Ginger Bowl. People have been calling it the Ginger Bowl because it's going to be Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold. And really, there's not a lot to look forward to in this game, but there are things that I think that the 49ers should heavily consider. I don't think that Trent Williams should be playing. I don't think Christian McCaffrey isn't going to play, and Brock Purdy isn't going to play. I would have to assume that Trent Williams is not going to play. You can't risk him getting hurt because he is like he is the, how do you say, he holds everything together on that offensive line, because as soon as Trent Williams goes down, the job becomes harder for Aaron Banks, and then they're playing makeshift on the blind side. I don't like when the Niners are playing makeshift offensive line like how they were against the Ravens. It's not safe for Brock Purdy, and I think maybe them not playing Trent Williams might be one of the deciding factors on why Brock Purdy's not going to play this upcoming game. But really, win or lose, the 49ers are going to be the 1 seed. Like nothing is going to change. And win or lose, the Rams are still going to be a wild card team in the playoffs. So they're not really playing for anything either. I think that the most important thing is for these teams to just like remain healthy. The 49ers can, I was kind of thinking if you are going to play most of the starters, just kind of get them out of the game after like a quarter. You don't want to risk Debo getting hurt. You don't want to risk Ayuk getting hurt. Like just kind of run vanilla stuff. And I do find it interesting that Brock Purdy is not going to play because he's one of the younger players. Like I kind of understand when you bench older players. And I know a minute ago I said that it's probably smarter to bench Brock Purdy, but if you were going to keep him in this week, I would just think that you would want to have, easy throws for him, like where or an easy game plan where he's handing the ball off a lot to, let's just say, Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell, or is Ty Davis Price still on the team? I know that they waived him like a couple, like maybe a month or two ago, but I'm pretty sure that they signed him back onto the team. Yeah, I think you're muted.
Maybe the practice squad.
Yeah, he might be on the practice squad. I'd have to take a look at the Niner depth chart, but really, I expect that it's going to be a game where George Kittle doesn't play. I don't think Kittle should play because, I mean, I didn't talk about it during the Commanders game. There was a hospital ball that Purdy threw, and Kittle kind of got his he got tackled and kind of low, and he looked like he was shaken up a little bit after the play, but was able to continue playing the game and finish the game fine. I don't think he was on the injury report. So, I mean, really, does it matter if the Niners win or lose this game? No. What really matters is trying to get valuable reps for guys that might have key contributions in the playoffs. I don't even think that you want to risk getting Sam Darnold hurt because then you're left with Brandon Allen. I think that if you just take this as like a cardio session, you know what I mean? And kind of a run through where it's like, all right, you're going through the motions of playing a game. The Niners won't be playing a game until, they're going to have, Purdy's going to have this week off, next week off, and then he's going to play in the game after that. So that would mean that it would be almost 3 weeks since he last played a football game when he plays in his next game. Do I think that rust is going to be a factor? I don't think so because, we saw Brock Purdy step right in that first, when was Purdy's first preseason game? It was against Denver?
I don't know.
I think it was either against Denver or the Chargers, and Purdy just like stepped right in there and he commanded the offense like he didn't miss a step. And then I was like convinced, yeah, Brock Purdy's back, Niners. I think I said on this show, if Purdy is playing and running the offense like that, I have no doubt in my mind the Niners will win the Super Bowl. I think I said that on this show after that preseason game. I think Purdy's just got to keep up the intensity and maybe seeing the game from, somebody else running the offense will give him sort of ideas on where he has, what decisions he would make. Like he really needs to just treat it like homework, if I'm being honest. So he's got to keep himself ready. He's gonna. I don't know if they're gonna have him still practice this week, but if they do, he should absolutely treat it like he's preparing for a game and then just not playing the game. And then in that week off, he needs to stay ready. I think that you just gotta kind of push through. And as for guys like Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, I'm really not concerned with rust for these guys. I think that rest they'll come out like more energetic because they're older. Well, McCaffrey's not that old, but he's a veteran player. Nick Bosa is a veteran player. And people kind of alluded to the fact that he ran out of gas last season. If he can get rest, who knows what that'll do for him. Like, in the playoffs, I think that he might be able to make a bigger impact, but I haven't heard any word on Nick Bosa missing this game. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about this game, Mike? You want to pick a winner?
Yeah, I will pick a winner. I think putting your starters in would feel stupid. This is essentially, I mean, I know you guys earned the bye week, so you either way you're getting an extra bye week, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's better to have them sit out and get fully healthy because I'm sure they're all after a full season, these NFL players have got to be hurting a little bit, at least, if not a lot.
Yeah, they're grown men.
Yeah.
Playing against other grown men. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a kid's game anymore in the NFL. Like,
yeah,
the game itself is, but the competition is not.
Right. And I can understand how, getting rusty could potentially happen, but I think if you guys can be fully healthy going into the playoffs, that's just another beast of its own. And I think the Ravens are getting the same advantage on the other side on the AFC, but there's just no reason, in my opinion, to risk anybody getting hurt. You send a text in the group chat. Bradley Chubb for the Dolphins tore his ACL with like 3 minutes to go in a blowout game against the Ravens. Now the Dolphins are without both of their starting pass rushers.
Yeah, and there's no reason for that. Why is your star pass rusher in the game when you're losing 56 to what, 10,
Like
20?
13, yeah.
30, something like that? Like, come on. There's risk reward, and the risk was not worth the reward for Mike McDaniel in that situation. But
yeah, and in that case, they were losing. The best example I could give, like that's similar to the Niners, was when the Raiders were beating the Colts 33-16 with like 7 minutes to go in 2016, and Derek Carr breaks his leg. 2 weeks before the playoffs start. It's like,
well,
that
tell me, Mike, would you rather them have rested Derek Carr at that time and him have been rusty the next week, or would you rather them not have him at all?
I think you know my answer. I was very upset when I realized that he broke his leg. And honestly, he was never the same. So, I'm not saying that would happen to the Niners, but you don't want to risk that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So
you literally have nothing to play for other than stats. Sorry.
On the other side of the football, the Rams are not going to play Matt Stafford. They're not going to play Cooper Kupp. They are going to play Puka Nacua, and he's going to go for the record for most receiving yards by a rookie. And oh my God, I forgot to talk about it. Brock Purdy broke the single season 49ers passing yard record against the Commanders. How did I not talk about that? Well, I'm talking about it now. That's insane, and I think it's impressive that he did it in 16 games and not 17 because they expanded the schedule or extended the schedule. So Brock deserves credit for that, and his receivers made it easier for him. But hey, other players have also had great weapons, in this organization. Maybe not to this degree, but Brock still deserves a lot of credit for a lot of the throws that he made, because I think he's more than just, a passer who just throws screens the way that Garoppolo did in like 2021 and beyond. So, Puka Nacua is going to be going for that single season receiving yard record for a rookie. I think that Nacua absolutely deserves it. And all right, who was the person who currently holds that record? So single season passing yard receiving yard record. The reason why I bring it up is because I swear I heard that this stat dates back to 1960. Or it's like a 60-year-old stat or something like that. Receiving yard record for rookies. Okay. Yeah. All right. Bill Groman set this record at 1,473 yards in 1960. You know, dude. All right, so I know Puka Nakua is gonna have like an extra game to do it. He probably would have broke it last week if like they knew that they didn't have an extra week to work with, or they maybe would have made a little bit more of an effort knowing that the record was on the line. But I think Nakua has had a great season, and I'll be happy for him if he breaks the record on Sunday, even if it's against the Niners. I think that Puka is a great player and deserves it. That's crazy that record has lasted that long, considering how like the game has evolved. Like, there wasn't that much passing back then. 1960?
Yeah. No.
Like there was still segregation at the time.
You know that guy was every single part of that offense.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's just insane to me. Like that's the 60s, dude. That's crazy. But do you want to go ahead and pick a winner for this game, Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Rams. I don't even think they necessarily need this game either. And it very well could be that Shanahan just outcoaches Sean Payton again. But I don't know. Something about the Rams is just interesting to me, and I think they probably have more to play for in this game than the Niners do.
I'm picking the 49ers.
Okay.
So at the end of this week, one of us is going to be right. And, maybe this will make the difference between how many picks that you've gotten right and how many picks I've gotten right. And we'll see if one of us gets to pull away. That's not the reason why I'm picking the Niners, though. I think that the Niners are still going to be they're just going to be more talented than the Rams. And even if they're not really going to be playing for much, I still see that Shanahan has ownage over McVay. And especially, like, what are the Rams without the players that they're sitting? Versus what are the Niners without the players that they're probably sitting?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this game will probably be a good testament to the depth of these two teams, or whoever wins. Yeah, I'm probably dead wrong on this, but I don't know. I just can't help but think. Is that at Niners or Rams?
Niners. It's going to be a home game. It's going to be like right before the playoffs to get the fans kind of hyped up, and you can switch your pick. Go if you want to switch your pick, you can switch your pick.
I'm going to keep it on the Rams only because I really just don't care this week. Like, there's really no reason for me to like think too hard about it,
Mm-hmm. I see this as being like a morale booster for the Niners, that like, oh, even without our starting quarterback, we still win. So that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with my initial gut instinct. But I could totally see this being like just the Niners running all over the Rams, and a very quick game where the Niners win like 20-10 or something like that.
You don't see Sam Darnold like completely lighting it up with 500 yards and making it a quarterback controversy?
I definitely don't see a quarterback controversy incoming, but yeah, no, I don't see that.
Come on, it's the 49ers. There's always a quarterback controversy.
That's negative.
Every year of watching this team, there's got to be one. I mean, there was one already this year, but come on, we got to carry that into 2024. Oh, yeah. Happy New Year, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think we're ready to move on. Niners, and you've got the Rams. And you can switch your pick. It's never too late. You can always text me before the first drive of the game.
Yeah.
Or before a team scores on the kickoff, whichever comes first. First drive or, score.